Scott Weichel, you're listening to My Kind of Country right here on Fish Creek Radio. At 13 years old, this lady had recorded jingles for a local business and was in commercials and had performed at the Grand Ole Opry. Her first single was called Wild Man Tamer. And after that, she was a member of the famous Buck Owens touring entourage and stable of stars, and she appeared on Hee Haw and the Ralph Emery Show and so many different shows. And she's with us today to talk about her music and her career. Her name is Kenni Huskey. Welcome to My Kind of Country, Kenni.
I'm glad to be here, and I hope that we can let these people know that this kind of music is here forever.
Well, amen to that. Well, it's a pleasure to talk with you today. I'm glad to have you on the show. We play your songs often, and I'm real glad that we were able to hook up and do this. This is great.
Well, it's always nice to be out there for the country fans and keep the Buck Owens, the Merle Haggard, the Loretta Lynn, the Tammy Wynette all still, the music is great, and I'm so glad to have been a part of all of that, and still am.
And still are, absolutely. You have a recent album that you released, a tribute to Buck Owens.
Yes, I did, and that's done real good for me. And then we're also working on a new one called Kenni Huskey, Then and Now, with a lot of originals that my father wrote, and some of the ones that Buck had wrote for me also. It's kind of going to be a multiple kind of thing, so it kind of brings you up to date a little bit too. So that's kind of nice. And I'm not sure exactly, but it won't be too far down the road here. We've already got the material recorded and everything is done, just waiting to get it packaged and released.
Well, that's great. Well, when you have it done, make sure to get it to us, and we'll get it on the air for you. You bet we will.
Oh, I will. Don't you worry about that, because I'd love for all the country music fans and listeners out there to hear it, because it'll bring back a lot of memories, and it'll also maybe hopefully create some new ones.
Super. Well, your tribute to Buck Owens is available on SoundClick.com and also on CD Baby, and you can preview the songs on there and order that CD, and I highly recommend it. It's real deal Bakersfield sound country music, folks.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Buck, I had such a wonderful. I worked for him with him for like a little over 5 years out in California, and it was just an honor. He was such a wonderful person, and I learned a whole lot, because I was only 15, 16 years old when I joined his organization, and he was a top-notch professional person, as far as all the way around. Wonderful years.
That's wonderful. How did you come to meet him? How did that end up happening?
Well, I was born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee, and my father's work moved us to Anaheim, California when I was about 13. And while we were out there, my parents had both professional jobs, but they also realized that I could sing at an early age in Memphis, and was on a local TV show there for 2 or 3 years before we moved to California. And someone had heard me singing, and my parents had a little 3-piece band, and we'd play at spaghetti houses and Pizza Hut, little hut type things, but it wasn't Pizza Hut, but it was like those, little family-owned places that would have music on Friday and Saturday nights. And someone heard about me, and of course my parents would take me every time we'd have the radio on, which was 24/7, KLAC out in Los Angeles at that time. There was something happening. Within 30 minutes, we was loaded, dressed, ready to get in the van and go and show up. And if they would let me sing one song, and it was not till midnight, we were there. And many a times I have missed the first class of school because I was still so sleepy. But boy, we made those shows. And finally, somebody actually told Buck Owens that they had heard about a little girl about 15 years old that was singing locally in the Orange County area. And one of Buck's PR people contacted my mom and dad, and Buck wanted us. Matter of fact, Tony Booth was doing a session that day in Bakersfield. I'll never forget it because I've got pictures in my scrapbook of it my parents took. Tony Booth was doing a recording there in Buck's recording studio in Oildale, and my parents, they asked my mom and dad to bring me to the studio that day. You'd have the Buckaroos and everybody there doing the session, because at that time he was managing also Tony Booth. And we went, and I sung, I think, I'll See Him Through, which was a Tammy Wynette song, and Stand By Your Man, and that was it. But he wanted to sign me right then, so we signed, managing, booking, and all that, and therefore I was on Capitol Records and had 8 singles on Capitol, and it really worked out well. And my mother traveled with me because I was a minor, and so I had to have a guardian with me. My mama traveled with me, and I just, back then when we did shows with Buck Owens, 10,000 people in a convention center, that was a huge show. Now I understand it has changed, but back then, Buck drew 10, 20,000 people. We had the convention center was packed.
Oh yeah.
It was unreal. It was honestly, and then we'd work Vegas, Reno, Tahoe, and sold out shows, and it just, at 15, 16, 17 years old, that's big,
I guess
big
so.
for a young kid, and I was just a kid, My biggest thing in my life was, for my birthday, I wanted a new vacuum cleaner, I wore out the old ones. I wore out about 2 or 3. I had that nervous energy in me. If I wasn't singing, I was going to clean the house. So, that was just a kid in me, and I'm still to this day a vacuum cleaning fool. So, anyway.
Well, you had some great hits on the label too. Of course, Living Tornado and Roll Out the Red Carpet, and Within My Loving Arms too. And I was very interested to hear the acoustic demo on your tribute CD to Buck that Buck sang on there. It sounded like that was one he was sending to you. That's really a cool recording.
Well, and the funny thing, that morning, Buck, it was about 7:30, and I hadn't left the school yet. And my dad and my mom was still at home. It might have been a little at 7. It was all during the week. Buck called Phil, my dad, and he said, yeah. And he said, this is Buck. And he said, yeah. And he said, listen, I've been up in the studio this morning since about 5, and I wrote this song, and I'm going to send it. I'm going to finish it with just me and my flat top in the studio, and I'm going to send it reel to reel, 7.5 FedEx to y'all this morning. And it should be there by the afternoon when Kenny gets out of school. And I want her to learn it, and we're going to release it on Capitol Records as, I think that was my second single on Capitol, because Living Tornado was the first one. And he said, so have her learn it, and I'll be singing it and talking to her how I want it to go. And I'm going to let him book the time, 2 weeks, and we'll get it released. And I'm going to tell you something, that afternoon when I got home, it was there. My dad wrote it out in big letters so I could see it real good, and I still have that 7.5. That's how I had that. That's how come I was able to put that on that CD. I had the original 7.5 with Buck Owens singing it.
That's really cool.
Tell me how it went.
That's a neat historic recording. I enjoyed hearing that. And you've got some great songs on there. One of the favorites I like of yours, and I play it quite often, is Hide and Watch Me Go.
Oh, I know. That was just and it was kind of cute because everybody, usually if Buck wrote a song, it wouldn't matter if it was for Susan Ray or me or the Hagers or Buddy Allen, all of us got to sing it, but usually it was the first person who sung it, that was their single, but, everybody, because that was the way, you could kind of include everybody on everything, but, yeah, Hide and Watch Me Go was a good one, too. That was a cute little snappy little song, and it was a, kind of high schooly sounding song for, someone in school. If you don't think I'm leaving, you just hide and watch me go.
Yep,
okay.
That's a great song.
It was just too cute. Yes.
You did a stellar version of In the Arms of Love. That song really made the rounds. Gene Price co-wrote it with Buck Owens, and he recorded it on Merle Haggard's live album, Okie from Muskogee. And then Freddie Hart released it, and you released it. And did a tremendous version. That's a great song. I don't think it was ever a monster hit. I think you probably did more with it than anybody else, but I always thought that was a great song. And obviously Buck did too, because it, like I said, quite a few artists recorded it.
Yes, they did. did, and it was a good, powerful song for a power singer, you know. I could use my voice real good on that song, you know, which was I like to do, because I'm more of a slow song singer. I mean, I will learn the fast ones, but I like to show my voice, you know, the power that I can do, and on slow songs, ballads, I can do them better, you know.
You certainly doing well. You do have a powerhouse voice, and I love that. That's fantastic.
Well, I tell you, you know, it's an honor that, you know, you and there's others that still play country music. I mean, I like the new music, fine, but there's such a difference. And
absolutely.
And I can remember as a little girl before we moved to Memphis, moved from Memphis to California, about once a month we had a 66 Thunderbird. And my mother was a nurse, my dad worked for Weston Foods, and we could barely make payments on the thing, but, you know, we had one, and we'd go to either my mama would take me for a day or my daddy would drive me down there to Nashville, about a 4.5, 5-hour drive. And we'd get up 4 o'clock in the morning, maybe 3, and we would walk 15th, 16th, and 17th Avenue till our feet were bleeding. And we'd go into Line Balls Cafe, and a lot of times there was Roy A. Cup sitting there. I've got his autograph on an old napkin. And we would go to Tootsie's. We'd go to Ernest Tubbs' record shop, was right next door. And back then, I was 10, 11 years old. My parents were trying to get me on a record label, trying to get somebody to sign me, And I can, you know, so I can tell these stories because they're true. I have walked those streets. I remember when Loretta, I went backstage. We went there for the weekend. Loretta was on Ernest Tubbs' portion of the Opry, and I wanted to get on the Ernest Tubbs' Midnight Jamboree show on WSM after the Opry shuts down. So they let me backstage talk to Loretta because I had done shows with her in Memphis and stuff. I'd opened for her when she comes to Memphis to do her big shows in the auditoriums there. And I remember they let me back there, and I said, Loretta, I know you're on Ernest's portion of the show, and we're parked right in front of the record shop, and I want to sing on his show. And will you help? Because Ernest, this is little Kenni Huskey, and I want her to sing tonight at midnight on your show. So here we were. We go back over there, and I get dressed in the back of a Fairlane 500. Yeah, no Fairlane. And I'm getting my little cowgirl suit on, you know. And here me and Mom and Dad, we get out of the car, and we're standing there at the line. They had it roped off from the stage. Jack Green was playing with Ernest still then at that time. And I'll never forget, some lady come out and said, "Are you little Kenni Huskey?" And I said, "Yes." And they said, "Well, Ernest wants you to come backstage so y'all can tune up on what you're going to sing." And I looked at my parents and said, "Okay." You know, of course, my parents knew they had already drilled me on how to be professional. I got spanking. So there I go. I got up underneath the little roping, and I sat back there with Ernest's little girl. She was about my same age, so it was time for me to do my song. And I got an encore.
Wow.
And I sung Don't Touch Me If You Don't Love Me by Jenny Seeley.
Oh, yeah.
And then I sang Great Speckled Bird.
Wow. That's cool. What a great memory.
And so, you know, a lot of people, you know, don't know that there are entertainers out there like me who we have earned our stripes or our stars, you know, because I've walked those streets. I know what it's all about.
That sounds like a good song.
Sometimes I've had people say, "You ought to write a book, Kenny," and I say,
"Yeah,
I know, but you know, I might leave out a lot of stuff, you know."
Well, that sounds like a good song title. I've walked these streets. You ought to write a song about that.
You know, and I think I might just try to do that because it's quite a life. I'll never forget us going into Hank Williams's publishing company, and Audrey was there that day, and we went in. My dad, because I love Hank Sr. I love his singing. And I remember Dad said, "Can you tell Audrey what you want?" Dad was trying to peddle some of his songs to the publishing company and seeing if they signed artists too, if she signed artists. And I said, "I want a picture of Hank Williams, 8x10 of Hank Williams." She said, all right, little lady, let me go get you one. She went back to the back. She brought me back a picture of Hank Jr.
Wow.
I said, oh, and my face, I went to a frown. I said, oh, no, I don't want this. I mean, I like his picture. No, I want Hank Williams. She said, you want Hank Sr.? And I said, yes, ma'am, I do. And she went back and got me a picture of Hank Sr., and I still got those 8x10s today.
That's cool.
So it was just, it's what you grew up with, and the people you idolize.
You bet. Well, that's what we're all about here. That's the way I live with my life and the music I play too. You bet. That's fantastic. Yep. So, are you doing some tour dates at all?
I'm working on, when we get ready to do this new CD. I'm trying to work with a couple of people who have booked me in the past, and we're just kind of tossing it around. I'm 60 years old, and I'm proud of it, and I've been through colon cancer and went through treatment, and I'm in remission now. And, of course, that takes a lot out of you. And I would like to do some show dates and things. Again, like that song, like that title, I've walked these streets. A lot of these they package entertainers now, unless you're doing music for people who remember us, Merle Haggards and Ernest Tubbs and people like that. It's all packaged so differently, and these new artists don't sing our songs, and they sing a totally different kind of music. But I still think there is a market out there for
real country music
that I sing.
You bet there is. We have a tremendous following, and we're hearing from a lot of new artists that are doing traditional country, and the pendulum is definitely swinging back to that kind of music. So you're coming out at the right time.
And a lot of times I've gone to places, or I've talked to a couple of young local artists, and they'll say, Kenny, you do good. You look still fine and all that, and you're not in moo-moo dresses yet. And I say, no, not yet. I doubt if I ever will be. But they say, but you're going to have to learn the new current music. I'm thinking, oh, gosh, I don't want to.
No.
I don't want to, and I don't. I mean, I can still remember songs I learned when I was 5 years old. And these new ones, I've learned some Judd songs but I don't do all this new music. I just don't. I can't get a wrap around it.
You got to do what's in your heart, and you got to keep doing what you're doing, because you do it extremely well.
Well, that's my life, and I've done it all my life, and it's a God-given gift. I mean, I definitely never had no voice lessons, and no guitar lessons. But my mama taught me the basic chords, and now I'm able to do a single act. I have my own equipment and my guitars and stuff. But I like working with a band better, and I hope that I can do that a little bit more before I decide, maybe I should stay home and put on that moo-moo dress.
Well, you're singing great. I've saw some of your videos on Facebook, and I'm real glad we're friends on there, and that's a great way to keep in touch, and you're singing great, and we're looking forward to it.
Yes, and, I hope that your listeners will enjoy, this interview, and hopefully more to come, and my music, that you play, because it's good, solid country music, and it's from the heart.
Amen to that. Well, folks, I want you to visit soundclick.com, and you can preview the songs from Kenny's album, a tribute to my second dad, Buck Owens, and you can order it at CD Baby as well, and look her up on Facebook. And we're looking forward to hearing new music from you, and I hope you can come back when you get your new album out, because we'd love to do a feature on it for you.
Well, what I'll do is you and I will keep in touch, and I will make sure that your listeners get the first listen out on the radio.
Hey, that'd be great.
There's no problem with that.
Hey, that'd be great. All right. Well, we're going to send you a package of picks and stuff from our sponsor, Fred Kelly Guitar Picks. So I'm going to have you stay with me for a second after we get off the air so I can get an address, and we're going to send you some good stuff there. And I want to thank you, Kenny Huskey, for being on My Kind of Country.
Well, Scott, thank you so much, and I can't wait to do it again. You're wonderful, and I've enjoyed this so much. And to all the country listeners out there, keep listening to this good station, because there's nothing like good traditional country music.
Amen. Thank you, Kenni Huskey. We're going to play one of your songs right now. This is Living Tornado as My Kind of Country continues right here on Fish Creek Radio.